Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about the animation industry and how much things have changed just in the last year. Because remember, we did all these videos and all these stories about how Hollywood was betting big on animation because of the pandemic, lockdown. Well, that's not the case anymore because now animators and people working in the animation industry are scared for their jobs because a lot of stuff's getting cut.
I did think it was a little odd that when they were announcing this stuff, they were going to double down on animation. It was when the pandemic was coming to when it was like the shutdowns and things where people couldn't work were coming to a close and people were actually going back to work. And I thought it was kind of odd. Like, why would you do that now? Because it doesn't really matter if, people are back to work. So you don't need to do animated versions of that show.
Yeah, they were even taking live action.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, live action series, and they were going to do animated versions of them. And people really thought, I think the pandemic was going to last for like a decade. And they were like, okay, we're just going to hunker down and do cartoons because people can work from home. We can outsource it overseas, whatever. So a lot of shows were getting greenlit. We saw like Sci-Fi had those really bad adult shows, like what was it, Magical Girl Friendship Squad and all this other crazy crap. And that all kind of went down the memory hole. But with David Zaslav coming in as the new boss of Warner Brothers Discovery, we're seeing a lot of cancellations, a lot of shows getting axed.
Sorry, I'm distracted by the fact that her finger's in the railing.
Yeah, a lot of corners being cut.
Well, look here, this little finger.
I know.
I don't know how that's happening, but okay.
Anyway, so let's talk about this because, animation people are freaking out. We've seen it on Twitter. We've seen it on Art Twitter. I mean, look, I'm not delighting in this, and I'm trying to be, like, real with you. But the reality is, a lot of these animated shows that were picked up over the last 5 or 6 years, they were picked up during better financial times, and the studios could take chances on things that maybe wouldn't make their money back right away, if ever. So we did have a lot of shows that frankly didn't merchandise very well or didn't attract a large enough viewership to bring in ad revenue.
Right.
We had a lot of these shows pop up because of the success of a few, like Adventure Time, and you could argue, I guess, Steven Universe. Then there's a whole bunch of shows like that. Now it's just like, that's not what's getting greenlit now, and a lot of stuff is getting canceled. Animation is incredibly expensive.
It is.
I don't think people realize how expensive it is, but even a low-rent animated show could cost you $500,000 to $1 million an episode. It is what it is, and especially when it comes to Warner Brothers, they're all about reality TV now. Discovery's all about reality TV. It's cheap. You go find some idiots that want to be stupid on TV, and you pay them a lot less than you would pay to have this stuff done, and you still get eyeballs. You still get subscribers.
It's definitely considerably cheaper. You could do several reality TV shows, probably for the budget of like one big budget animation something.
And even Disney's CEO doesn't think that much of animation.
I can't believe that.
I mean, we did a video the other day, and I thought
everybody's calling him out for that, by the way.
I thought it was weird because we're like, hey, they've got Disney Plus. They're going to have all kinds of animated series on Disney Plus. You'd think no, they're not. It's all live action stuff or low budget stuff, and the reason being probably because Bob Chapek is a bean counter, not a creative. And he's just like, animation's expensive and we're not going to make that money back. So
he said quantity over quality.
Yeah, he did. It's quantity over quality. So let's talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Almost 279,000 subs. Woo! Thank you for the support. We do talk a lot about animation and comics, working in and around the comic book industry and the animation industry and Disney and yada yada, different things that we've done over the years. If you want to get our autograph, I don't know why anybody would want that. I really don't know why anybody would want that, but the four of us, the Clownfish 4, you can go out. I'm going to put a link in the comments. These are handmade bags of holding. They're not pouches. Bags of holding. They
are pouches, but you call them bags of holding.
They hold things. You put them in.
So they technically are a bag of holding.
Yes, and they'll be signed. All four of us will sign them.
You can take it to your next D&D event, especially if the people you're playing with are playing the new books, like the coffee shop, and they'll see the Clownfish
oh my
logo,
God!
And then they'll combust.
Yes, with your first 6E campaign, bust out the Clownfish bag of holding.
Watch them lose their shit.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. All right, so let's talk about this again. How it started, how it's going.
Yes.
IGN, why layoffs and cancellations have sparked industry-wide worry among animators. They said recently Warner Brothers Discovery laid off 125 workers as they restructured Cartoon Network Studios. I think Cartoon Network is going to be done within the next couple
of
years.
Or they'll just sell it off or whatever.
Well, they're talking Zaslav is going to keep cutting until the end of 2024.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they don't just offload it.
Yeah. Workers on shows like Craig of the Creek had their episode orders cut in half, and many lost their jobs outright. This is just the latest in a string of layoffs and cancellations in the animation industry that leave workers wondering about their future in the industry. I don't know what to tell you. I think it's going to go back to kind of what it was before, where there's going to have to be a product or a toy tie-in to make it worth it for a lot of these companies to spend the money on it, you know? On October 7th, Matt Burnett, co-creator of Craig of the Creek, tweeted that workers from Craig of the Creek, an upcoming spinoff, Jessica's Little Big World, would be laid off. There's no need to panic. The Cartoon Network is gone and the animation in America is dead, but there's no reason to, agree with Clownfish TV, but no. But workers in animation are concerned by these industry moves. To them, they underline a general lack of respect for workers in animation.
Which I agree. I do think there is a general lack of respect for workers in animation. I agree with that.
Growing concerns that streaming services aren't a sustainable business model for the entertainment industry.
I also agree with that.
And again, Netflix greenlit a lot of these shows years ago when there was a lot of surplus money or pretend surplus money, monopoly money. And now that it's come out that they're actually losing subscribers and maybe these shows aren't driving subscribers. Now they're still going to do anime because anime is globally, it's popular. And I think that is also a shift. I think the age of the Tumblr style Western cartoon show is effectively over. I think if studios are going to spend, it's going to be something that has a product tie-in, something that's established IP. Warner's said that. They basically said, we'll do, established IP, or it's going to be anime.
Yeah, I was going to say anime is what they're going to probably double down on, because I know everybody like Netflix and, Hulu and Disney and them are all getting into the anime, and they're trying to get exclusive content that's anime on theirs, because you're basically just paying for the licensing. I mean, sometimes they do pay for the whole production, but a lot of times it's just like the co-pay it with another studio and then share it here and there. Yeah. And it's relatively inexpensive for them, comparatively speaking, because you're just appropriating it more than you are developing it from the beginning.
Well, the thing about animation too is they sit down at the very beginning and they're like, how are we going to merch this show?
Right.
They'll have a meeting with the toy company. They'll have a meeting with the video game companies, the trading card companies, and be like, okay, if we're going to do a Demon Slayer show and it's going to be expensive, obviously we're going to sell manga, but we're also going to have to sell some other stuff too. Mm-hmm. So how are we going to sell it? Okay, well, we've got dolls and figures. And now in Japan, adult weebs, and over here too, to some degree, adult weebs buy the toys and the merch and the action figures and the statues and that stuff too.
We've sold stuff and it wasn't always to adults. And I have a friend whose kids dressed up for Halloween, and one of them was dressed up as Zen from Demon Slayer, and the other one was dressed up as a character from Naruto. So I was like, yeah, and these are these are like little kids, like elementary, and I was like, yes.
There's a wider net, I think, with anime properties, because again, it's a lot of times it's multi-generational. Mm-hmm. Look at Gundam. Gundam came out the 70s, and it's like Star Wars. It's basically the Japanese equivalent of Star Wars, where they've got decades of fans. They just haven't shat upon them as much as Lucasfilm.
Wait till they reboot it, and then they'll make sure they do so with that.
Well, there was some controversy around a couple of shows. Gundam Wing, was popular here, but anyway, that's a whole nother thing. In May, Netflix canceled 11 of its animated series, some of which had not yet been aired. Not to be outdone, in August, Warner Brothers Discovery went even further. 37. Wow, I didn't realize it was that many.
Yeah,
37 animated shows were canceled, and then some were outright removed from the streaming platform HBO Max, making them difficult.
Yeah, that was weird. There had to be some contractual reason for them to do that, because they were like scrubbing it from the internet. And why would they do that unless there was some contractual reason, or they were afraid they were going to go sell it to somebody else and use their stuff to promote it? I don't know.
Yeah, apparently it had something to do with the accounting to save the money. I don't know.
It's weird.
There is talk that some of those properties that aren't, I guess, what you could be considered like essential IP for Warner Brothers. It's not Scooby-Doo, but Infinity Train or something like that, that they could technically sell it to somebody else who's willing to buy it, or sell off a bunch of the Cartoon Network properties if somebody's willing to buy it, just to be done with it, and let somebody else, if you want to, make sequels to it, you want to make Blu-rays, whatever, that's on you. It's not worth our time unless it's like Scooby-Doo or something, or Bugs Bunny to even mess with it. And they're going to destroy Scooby-Doo with Velma, so whatever. Some of the workers who spoke to IGN said that from their perspective, the animation industry has always been undervalued. That's true. For a long time, it was seen as children's entertainment, and it still is by Disney.
Mm-hmm. Yes, which is shocking that Chapek said that.
Even as a lesser art because of it, even as young adult and adult animation has become more popular.
I agree.
These workers say that they're almost always the least valued workers.
I agree.
They said that when things get hard economically, workers in animation are the first to be let go.
I agree.
We have done multiple videos about this, and we have said that if anything's going to get cut, it's going to be animation because of the cost. Now, I remember a couple of years ago, I tweeted about this, and people were getting pissy with me, but they're always pissy with me about something. When Channel Frederator launched the Kickstarter for being PuppyCat, which finally came to Netflix after like 9 years. They wanted, I want to say it was like $500,000. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they wound up doing like $700,000 or $800,000 on this Kickstarter. And there were people on the animation board accusing them of being greedy because it was just one pilot. And Fred Seibert himself got in there and he was like, do you have any idea how much this stuff costs?
Yes.
You have no idea how much this stuff costs. You don't know what you're talking about. Then they got on him. They're like, what the hell do you know about it, old man? He's like, I just ran Hanna-Barbera, bitch, to that effect. I was just watching this go down with popcorn. I'm like, wow. Like, you're going to go in there and tell him. And this is very typical. And this is what these people do now. You've got these like 20-year-olds that have never worked in the industry, that don't know anybody in the industry, trying to pontificate from Twitter and Tumblr as to the economics of the industry. And then they wind up being proven wrong time and time again. And they still claim, that's just bigotry or whatever. It's like, no, it's
reality.
It's reality.
It's an itty, but it's a reality.
Animation is particularly prone to these, boom and bust cycles. A source with 20 years of experience told IGN. He requested to remain anonymous due to concerns about his career.
I'm sure.
In the time that he's been in the industry, he's witnessed boom cycles due to new players like Fox Kids and Nickelodeon, only for the new enthusiasm for animation to suddenly dry up. And yeah, you can see that, like, again, going back to Hanna-Barbera and Cartoon Network when they started doing their own original stuff, and it was exciting. And Fox Kids, I mean, I was watching X-Men and Batman the Animated Series and all stuff on Fox Kids, and it was exciting. And I thought, there are some internet entities that want to get into animation, and I foolishly thought, well, they're going to spend the bucks to get into animation. Then I think they look at how much it costs, and they're like, hell no, we're not going to, not unless it's kid stuff and we can sell little kid toys. We've been riding a wave of the last sort of boom bust cycle, he said. It's been going up since that big deal Netflix made with DreamWorks 7 or 8 years ago. They bought like a crazy amount, 300 or 400 hours worth of programming. That would be She-Ra in that too. To this source, it isn't hugely surprising that animation is on the chopping block as companies like Netflix and Warner Brothers try to navigate an economic downturn. He's seen it happen before.
Yes.
It does seem worse to him this time.
It does.
This is somebody who's been in the business for 20 years.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised. It does cycle.
I'm kind of shocked by what's going on at Warner Brothers, just because it's like now it's even a bigger mess and now the stock's down. It's just sort of depressing, while it seems like this is going to be a bigger downturn than we've seen in a while. This has happened before, like in the 60s and 70s, you could see a shift away from classic like Disney style animation, Warner Brothers animation to Hanna-Barbera, and Pink Panther and cartoons that were kind of, Dudley Do-Right, cartoons that were made on the cheap.
Yeah.
There were still animated content, but it was
not the same caliber.
Much more cheaply produced than what we had seen before. And then, and that continued until we got into the 80s. And then, stuff started to get a little more higher quality, I think. But again, people hate to throw it in your faces, but no, I love to throw it in your faces because you guys deserve it. Toy sales. You can spend more money on a show, when you've got merchandise sales to prop it up, or video game sales, or, what I'm saying? They don't like, where do you think the money comes from? Do you think somebody's really got like, hey, I just got $25 million laying around and I just happened to see your Tumblr cartoon. And my God, it touched me. I can't identify at all with these characters because I'm just
you said I'd Tumblr and identify.
Because I'm just a cis het white male, but I'm going to give you random artist that's been working so hard on this comic strip for 6 months. I'm going to give you $25 million because it's the right thing to do. And you go run a show even though you have no experience. In fact, I don't think you've ever worked anywhere.
But Sally, this actually happened.
It has happened.
And
Hi, Guardian Spice. And I'm just going to give you this money and you can just do with it whatever you want. It's my gift to you for being a toxic male. And, I believe in you. You were the chosen one. I plucked you out of a sea of other Tumblr artists, and I'm just going to give you this big opportunity, and I'm not going to expect anything in return. And that's how, honest to God, I've seen it. That's how these people think. I've seen them be like, oh, I'm going to do animation. Show me some art. Well, I got some character designs. Show me some art. Show me some animation. Show me some.
Yes, show me 20 seconds animation.
20 seconds. Can you... bigot. Anyway, for a long time,
ringtone. Okay. Anyway,
for a long time, Netflix was considered among animation workers as a safe haven. They even went and bought a whole new, compound and all that. Speaking of which, you get down to this big red pool quote. The all freelance room has also become a huge barrier for BIPOC writers and female writers that are historically
bullshit.
Excluded.
Bullshit. I call bullshit. First, we're not going with that narrative again. Bullshit. We already debunked that narrative several times. Bullshit.
Well, what they're saying is happening is, when you get down into it, is that they're hiring more and more freelancers. They're outsourcing more and more animation. I mean, we're kind of seeing this with Ruby right now. People are like, oh, Rooster Teeth is going to be fine. I'm like, guys, Warner can send it overseas to Japan, and they'll do a better job than Rooster Teeth has done.
But wouldn't, if you're sending it to Asia and doing anime, wouldn't that fall under the BIPOC?
Yes, it would. They don't count because we don't think about them. They just do most of the work.
No, basically, anybody that's not me that's getting a job that's not me.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, this is just goes on and on. It's basically like everybody feels dissed. The creator-driven spirit at Cartoon Network is going to be lessened or eliminated. I would argue you don't want to take your creator-owned project to Cartoon Network anyway because they own it and you can't get it back unless you've got to cough up millions of dollars to get it back. But oh my God, this just goes on. I'm going to put a link to this, but they're talking about the people behind it. And look, I don't disagree, but look, we've got this. It feels like a social contract has been broken.
But he hasn't been personally impacted by the layoffs.
No.
But
sure, shows get canceled and studios go under and executives change programming, but you usually have some sort of proof of the work you did. These are our lives or legacies. Have them wiped from existence, potentially forever, just to save a few numbers on a spreadsheet is beyond disheartening.
That's a person not impacted.
Right. But I mean, we are seeing cartoons get blinked from existence or whatever.
But there's a lot of jobs people have that they have nothing to show for their legacy. That the companies get rolled into another company or your work, you're just a number on a piece of paper. Like everybody else there. Your legacy is that you worked at that company, but not you individually. You know what I'm saying? So this is like every job ever could make the same argument.
I was the manager at a McDonald's for 25 years, and they never named a hamburger after me.
Because my legacy.
If you really want a legacy, and I'm not trying to be a dick, and I'm not trying to be a jerk, and I get it. You go start your own studio. You put your name on the studio.
Don
Bluth, Walt Disney, and then everybody knows who you are, and they'll watch Tim Burton, and unfortunately, a lot of the people that are getting chopped aren't quite there, or they thought naively if they got their show picked up by a Netflix or a Cartoon Network or whatever, that was going to be it.
No matter who you are, if you sell it, you're just a number. You're just a piece of. You're our number on a paper that's with dollar signs and decimals. And at the end of the day, if they don't want to use you or use your product anymore, don't want to pay you, they can by all means, especially if they bought the rights to it, eliminate you as if you were just a line on a spreadsheet.
You are, unfortunately, and again, this isn't, I'm not happy about it. I'm not happy about it, but you are unfortunately a content producer producing content for a company that could change direction tomorrow. That's just kind of the way it is. And you need to know that going into it, that, you know, this cartoon show is probably not going to be your legacy. It's just you're going to work on it. See, there's a difference there too, because the people that worked in animation in the 70s and 80s that we know, the people that we've talked to, they understood it as being a job. Now, sometimes the job, you know, blew up and it wound up becoming a much bigger deal than they thought it would, and they were associated with that show or whatever, but they didn't go into it being like, you know, I'm going to work on this Saturday morning cartoon and this is my legacy. This is all I am to this world. And people are going to be watching this Saturday morning cartoon 200 years from now. It's going to be in the Smithsonian, and nobody goes into it like that. They're like, nah, I'm going to work in the cartoon industry and do the best I can do. And I hope it works out.
If you got your stuff out there, you've already made it through almost, I mean, every hurdle anyway. You're on the air. You got greenlit. You did your show. You got to air it, or it's completed. That's further than most people got. I mean, I'm not saying you have the right to complain, but I'm also like, you know, big picture here.
You could do it yourself. A lot of people could do it themselves, you know. But,
we believe in you.
And I am being completely honest here. I mean, again, look at, you know, Vivzy Pop with Has Been Hotel. You know, she put a team together. She basically had a pilot on the internet, and she has control of the show, as I understand. So she played her cards right, and you know, it's possible to do, but just realize if you're working for like a Warner Brothers or a Disney or something, you're just a spoke in the wheel, man. That's what you are.
Right or wrong.
Right or wrong. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. It doesn't change. This is how it is, and this is probably how it's going to be, and it's probably going to get worse because these studios are very, very cutthroat now.
They're very fickle too. They're constantly churning on a dime for a different trend, chasing money, and it's you know. There's a lot of things that are going to lead to its downfall because of it, I think. Yeah, I just think it's interesting. One of the last things they said was they can even have a show that was greenlit that can get canceled now. Before it was 100%. Like if they greenlit it, it was absolutely positively going to happen. Nope. Now they're like, oh yeah, okay, we might have a couple episodes done, but whatever. We're done. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. I think you're going to see a lot of grousing on Twitter. If people stay on Twitter and don't go someplace else. Yeah, it's sad. We're not going to get, I don't think we're going to get anything like truly original for years because they're going to all play it safe for the next, you know, decade or so. All right, going to wrap it up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk later. Bye.
Don't miss Clownfish Studios' latest crowdfunder, Crimson Wren Volume 1 on Kickstarter and Indiegogo. Thaddeus Wendell's greatest treasure is out there, and it's up to young mage Crimson Wren and the crew of a rundown airship called the True North to find it. But will they find it in time? Crimson Wren of the True North is a race against the clock filled with action, adventure, comedy, and heart. This is a brand new manga-style graphic novel from Clownfish Studios. Go to crimsonwren.com or check it out on Indiegogo and Kickstarter. It ends on November 18th. That's November 18th. And now on with the video.